Well, good morning, everyone. I'm trying to make sure I have everything up on my screen here. There we go. No? No? There we go. Maybe this is it here. No, that's not it either. Well, there it is. Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside. Welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 21st day of March 2019. Still a little full moonitis from yesterday. So much so that I didn't get the lunar transits up. I'm doing them now, so I'm a little bit late. Anyhow, we had an equinox yesterday, and technically today is Ostara, but I like to always do it on the same day as the equinox, and so I begin things then. I was able to get out in the garden, and I pulled some weeds, which was fun, around my asparagus. I wanted to see if any of that was coming up. I wanted to make sure that the snow was off the bed so I could see, number one, and nothing coming up yet. But my lemon balm's coming up. My clary sage is coming up. I saw some wormwood. The lavender survived. The mugwort survived. So I don't know. My garlic is up, starting to come up anyway. And not just the regular garlic, but my elephant garlic. I saw some of that in there too. So I'm excited about that. So spring is here. Ostara is technically today, the 21st, but it can be aligned with the equinox, and so I always celebrate it in alignment with that. I'm not really a Sabbath person. I'm more of a Esbat person. So I'm more about the moon phases than I am, big holidays or anything. But when it also coincides with the equinoxes, I feel the change of the seasons really well, and so it's just one of those things that I think I naturally gravitate to. Um, so, but I'm never really been someone who I don't know. I was always my favorite my favorite holiday is Halloween. So there you go. It's sort of, and I like and I like Mabon. I like the autumn equinox. I like the autumn and the spring, the fall and the spring. Those are the times I like the most. So the rest of it, whatever. I don't care. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't. I'm not somebody who does that. So we did not, my kids didn't grow up knowing their mother was a witch. So it was, we were a bit of an alternative lifestyle, but we didn't name it as such. And so we just celebrated traditional holidays in our family. So I just thought that I was way too confusing enough of a person. So, the way I think about things. And so I just decided that, I'm not going to visit that on them. And I didn't until I was much older. And finally, a few years ago, I said, yeah, so, all this stuff, well, this is what that is. And this is why I never said anything. So you get to be my age, back in those days, witchcraft was not something that was accepted. And so, the understanding is you kept your silence about it. And if you're somebody who's not in a coven, you don't have that protection either, So, and I never was. It just never felt right to me. So, and plus I was never around enough witches that it even made any sense. So I've always been solitary in my beliefs, and so I guess it's easy when you're alone to stay alone, And so I lived my life the way I did, and I wore a crystal wand, and I did, I had my incense and my runes, and my organic gardening and my herbalism and all that stuff. So I lived as one, but I didn't say, oh yeah, by the way, that's what all this represents, until much, much later in life. So they were adults when I said something. So anyhow. Yeah, that was just, I don't know. it's just something that I think that you kind of test the waters with people now and then, and to see, and it just never felt like I could say that, and maybe that wasn't true. And I think in looking back, it likely wasn't true. But it's like, how much are you supposed to expect your kids to deal with? I mean, we ultimately homeschooled, so I mean, we totally live this alternative lifestyle, about it all, and so I don't know, you know, we do what we do anyway. But anyhow, it was nice. And so today, I didn't get a chance to bury my egg, though. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to go out to the garden and do that. I got caught up with my husband. We were out in the back and we were cutting up the trees that had gotten broken from the snow. And so we were cleaning all that stuff up, and we still have a little more to do, and we still have some stuff to do in the front, but it looks so much better. And it doesn't look as bad as I thought it did. One branch broke off of a tree I told you guys about, outside my kitchen window, and there we had, and also one just outside my living room window. We had 2 nuke boxes, and what nuke boxes are, they're just small 5-frame hives. And you usually, when you can either buy a package of bees, which is just 10,000 bees and a queen, just in a box, basically, or you can buy what's called nukes, 5-frame nukes. And what they are is just, you've got basically 2 frames of brood in there and a queen, and I mean it's basically an existing small hive. Your hives, of course, are usually 10-frame, but here, you just have half of a hive or something, and you can start if you're new at beekeeping. I actually recommend that. It's a little easier than trying to. I mean, personally, the packages are much easier, but you get to really see it, because then you're going to take each frame out and put it in your own hive, carefully, so you don't, damage the queen and hurt her, because if you kill her, then, if they can't make another one quickly enough, then, you can lose your hive. But basically, you've got an existing hive when you buy one of those. Well, we don't do that. We just buy packages now, but because our bees die every year. But anyway, what you can also do, so it is what does that say? 8 of Wands. So remember that in case I pull it again. Anyway, you can use them if you bait them with swarm lure. You can use them as swarm traps. And so what we did, because we didn't want to have to replace flimsy swarm traps, we just bought several of the little nuke boxes, and that's what we use them for. We use them as swarm traps. So we have some up at the top of the property in trees, and I've got one here by the kitchen, and then one outside my living room window. And I didn't get any last year, but we weren't all that vigilant keeping the swarm lure in there either. It's just it's a way of getting free bees. So that's, but he was able, even though that one branch came down, there's still enough of it there that he was able to put the platform back up there, and so I can still see that nuke box out of my kitchen window. So hopefully, if a swarm comes in, then I'll have some bees there that I can look at until we transfer them to a bigger hive. And then we don't have the other one. It's still kind of cockeyed in that tree out there. Jerry's still got to go out there and put that back up. But so far, things are looking better out there. So, and the snow's melting. So I would think by the weekend, it'll pretty much be gone, other than in the real shaded spots. And it's great because I got a picture of some daffodils coming up in the snow, and so it's all just coming back. And that's the wonderful part of this time of year is it's like you just get to the point, at least I do, where it's like, oh my God, if I look at anything dead one more second, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to see something growing. I have to get my hands in the dirt, So hopefully I got my fingernails all clean, but I literally was out there yesterday pulling weeds, and I was so happy. I just was so happy. So anyhow, today we have a 3 energy. 21 reduces to 3, and so that's the numerology is catalytic. Mind, body, spirit alignment. It's a 333 day again. The March is the third month. We have a 3-day, and 2019 reduces to 3. So today should be a really lovely catalytic growth day. I bet I'll go out there and my garlic will all be up. No, but you never know. You never know. The sky's the limit now, isn't it? Let's get started and see what we have for today. Well, we have the Ace of Cups, beginnings of our emotional presence in the world. The aces in the suits are said to contain all of the elements within the suit. It's contained within the ace. The Ace of Cups, I think, in any deck is one of the most beautiful cards in each deck, particularly the more non-traditional ones. You see a hand, again, reaching out from a cloud, holding a chalice. You see the dove of peace above. Looks like he's dropping a Rosicrucian cross into the chalice, and as he does it, he's all of the water is the waters of life spill forth, we'll say. But the Ace of Cups is about joy and contentment, nourishment, abundance, fertility, love. It could be psychic gifts, it's the water element, so it could be intuition. So maybe this is really strong today for us. It's the free-flowing genesis of life and of emotions. The beginnings of emotional identity, abundance, security, love. It's considered, of course, a positive card. But let's see what else we have for today. See what else it has to interact with. It's like, okay, so what about that, basically? I'll shuffle a little bit and we'll see what else we can come up with. If you've never been here before, welcome. I appreciate you coming. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. If you've been here before, though, thank you so much for coming back. If you have, then you know that I take the 13th card each time I draw a card. 13 figures prominently in my life. I was born on the 13th. I was born in 1957, which is also a 13. It also reduces to 4. I just view, the 13 as a magical number, so I view it as one of the master witch numbers. 7 also, but 7 also figures prominently in my life, and I'll share that with you sometime. But 13 is something that always has, and so if I need to really know an outcome, I'll take the 13th card. If I'm just drawing one, I'll take the 13th card. For this, I like to be random, and so each time I take the 13th card. I don't know. I used to wake up, and this happened for years. Even my husband acknowledged that he doesn't remember how long this went on, but it went on forever. I would wake up every single morning at 3:13, every morning. This may have gone on for 5 years, as much as 5 years. I said, "Do you think it was that long?" He says, "Yeah, it could have been." So much so that you get to the point where you really don't know. It could have been longer, In other words, I don't remember a time when I didn't do it. It happens so much. Well, it happened every day. So that's why I draw the 13. It's like tapping me on the shoulder. I was ill for 13 years. It was just, I don't know. It's always coming up. It's weird. Well, okay, so this is the 20th card of the Major Arcana as Judgment. Now, You see the angel above, Gabriel tooting his horn. Again, the Rosicrucian cross right there. So you've got some synchronicity there. You see, we're all naked, standing before our Lord in this oh so patriarchal card. So, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the term judgment. I don't like that they use an E to spell it in the middle there. I don't. So anyhow, I don't care for this. A lot of other cards call it the Eon. The Druid Craft Tarot calls it Rebirth. But I think Heindel and Crowley, they all call him the Eon. Basically, it's about transition and it's about renewal. Judgment implies that you now have to account for things, and that isn't what happens. Is there a life review? Sure. You're going to look and see what you did and what happened, and did you fulfill your purpose for being there? How'd it go? But that's just, that's for purposes of healing and preparing you to go on to the next step, basically. It's not, and that's, I believe, and that may only be in this reincarnation cycle. When we move out of it and into an ascension cycle, that's not going to probably happen, but it may take on a different form. I don't know. It may be that we can just simply ascend on to wherever it is we want to go, wherever we're next ready. And whether or not there'll be a life review in that type of a deal, I don't know. But currently, we're in this reincarnation cycle, which probably shouldn't have happened, but for whatever reasons having to do with how humanity evolved on this planet and all of the intervention that happened, things happened to us that probably shouldn't have. And instead of being able to just move on and ascend when we're ready, that's not happening. We have to wait for windows. We have to wait for enough of us to be ready, or those kinds of things don't happen. And I think we're there now, but it's just a cycle that we've been in, and not one that we need to be in. We need to be in a different kind, one where we can ascend to different dimensions when we're ready to do that, and not dependent upon some collective endeavor to do it. So anyhow, but judgment again is about, or eon, it's about rebirth. It's about transitioning into a new phase. You're talking numerologically. You're talking balance. You're talking duality, and all of that. But the duality, the true duality. We talk about it vis-a-vis our projective and receptive aspects of self, or masculine, feminine aspects of self. But in truth, the real duality is about spirit versus form, at least in my opinion. And here, what we're doing here is we're awakening to truth, and we're awakening to the truth of who we are. We come in through the veil of forgetting, if you want to call it that. And some of us remember more than others. And I don't think that we're consciously remembering it per se. I don't think when we so-called remember, or I think a better word probably to use is awareness. I think that some of us retain that awareness of spirit, and we don't necessarily know that's what it is. Most people like that are called empaths or psychic people, because they have a sense of things that are outside the mundane. They're outside the physical presence of life. And so consequently, you get someone like me who's born an empath, we feel the resonant vibration of life, of existence, okay? We can think about, you think, oh, well, you just feel emotions. Oh, no. What do you think all of this is? When they say God is love, that's an emotion. The resonance of life is emotion. If you want to quantify it, if you want to name it, that's what it is. And so don't think that an empath doesn't know what you're thinking, because we do. It's that simple. All of that thought, we think it's thought. It's not. It's emotion-based. And so we feel it. We know when something isn't right. That's how we know that. So the idea, though, that the tarot tells us is that we have this journey that we take, right, toward awakening, toward a return to the creator. Well, what we're really returning to is our awareness as creators. So, we're an aspect of the creator's focus into form to learn more about life in tangible form. So the awakening does not have to take place at the end of life, or in other words, right before death. one would hope we'd realize along the way so that we can live life in a more meaningful fashion. But you see, when we're in the cycle of reincarnation, you see, we don't think about it that way, do we? But if we start thinking in terms of ascension, of who we are as soul energy, and how all of that is supposed to function in the world, then this sort of gets replaced by something else, doesn't it? It gets replaced by the Eon card or the rebirth card, which is a little more in line with who we really are and what this process here truly is. But let's do another card. So the Ace of Cups, then, if you look at it with the Judgment card, and if you look at in terms of awakening of emotion, then basically based on what I just said, it's awakening of spiritual awareness. So maybe we are starting, again, we talked about this yesterday, with all of the flooding that's going on, and all of the nonsense in the world. You can either turn your back on it, or you can focus on it, and you can send love, and you can maybe participate in the solution. People are feeling that now. And I have to think it's this, that the love within us is going to overshadow whatever hate that's going on currently in our world. And we're going to ultimately be there for one another, because at the end of the day, we are all we have. Okay, if we're going to rely on politicians, if we're going to rely on people like that, people in with the money, people in control, if we're going to rely on them for the solutions, it's not going to happen, because you see what it's devolving into now. Love, on the other hand, is what the answer is, okay? And us coming together in love and awareness of who we are in unity consciousness, that is what's going to drive our way forward. Let's take a look at the last card for today. The Four of Swords. We're letting our thoughts rest here. He's not dead. He's just, I know it looks like, some of those coffins, of the royals, you'll see they're very ornate. And then you'll see this, I don't know, whatever, some kind of stone. Well, they're made of stone, right? But then you'll see this stone, thing of them on top, instead of a statue is laying down. I don't know if you call it a relief or a fresco. I don't know what you would call that. But their whole body is on top of in concrete form, is on top of the casket, and that's what it kind of reminded me of. First time I saw this, it's like, okay, is he dead? No, he's laying down, but you see, it's confusing because you've got the stained glass up there. You think maybe he's lying in state, but he's not. What's happening here is you see the three swords above and the one below. He's letting his thoughts come to rest. He's letting his thoughts settle. Numerologically, we have here collectively a 7. We have 4, 6, 7 as the numerology for the reading. So there you're looking at another card of balance. And in a sense, when you think about awakening, isn't that what you're doing? You're coming into balance of who you truly are. So with with a 3-day, a 3-month, and a 3-year, how are we going to catalyze that love? How are we going to catalyze that awakening? We've had so much last year. Last year was an 11-year, and so that was the master number for illumination. And so we learned a lot of things. We're still learning a lot of things. What are we going to do about it? Are we the hateful people that seem to be so vocal? Or are we the loving people who want to, be there for one another and support one another and have a shared experience with others? I mean, it really comes down to service to self versus service to others, doesn't it? Typically, we choose that before we come in. But that's the funny thing about awakening. We can always make another choice. You know, service to self sort of implies someone who's self-absorbed and is more concerned with the self than, concerned with anyone else. And if they are concerned about someone else, it's really because it's in service to their own needs. And we know a lot of people like that. Unfortunately, a lot of them end up in positions of power. And that's when oppression happens. And that's when all this hatred starts spewing out. It's amazing, isn't it? What also is amazing is that I pulled Vunyo, which aligns perfectly with the Ace of Cups and our awakening and letting our thoughts settle and just letting all of it be replaced by unfettered joy and love. There's a lot of people hurting right now, particularly in New Zealand. Even if you don't know anybody there or you don't know anyone from New Zealand, you can still extend your love and your blessings to these folks as they go through this extraordinarily difficult time. Their lives were changed completely. And the beautiful thing that's happening, the loving thing that's happening, is that their government is surrounding them. They're surrounding them with love and support and change. 6 days into it, they've already reenacted different gun laws and banned all guns that took part in this murder. They've banned all of them. So here you have a country they're going to pay for the funerals. They're going to give these folks whatever support they need. They're coming together in shared purpose, in shared unity, and they're setting the example for the entire world. So I with the Four of Swords, what it's asking us to do is to just let our thoughts settle and to have it be replaced with only love, because right now that's what people need. They need responses to be loving. They need solutions to be loving. And Vunyo, as the 8th rune of the Elder Futhark, that's what that's about. It's about joy. It's about contentment. It's about fellowship with others. The unity consciousness is the awakening. That's what we awaken to, is the knowledge that we are not alone in this, that we are part of source energy, that we are aspects of that projected into conscious form. We are no different from one another, no matter what the hate people want to say. The idea of saying someone because of their religion doesn't belong in your country. I think when we find out about 9/11, it isn't going to be what they want us to think it is. So then how do you justify this hate that people want to justify with that? Oh, well, they did this. Yeah, I don't know about that. So I don't know about that. We see so many examples of people wanting you to believe one thing or another. All you have to do is listen to the guy that occupies our White House. Everything he says is telling us what to believe. None of it's true, but he wants you to believe it nevertheless, okay? We've been sold this bill of goods, this lie, having to do with the other, seeing the other, when in truth, all we're seeing is the other side of self. The notion of one family is a truth. It's a verity, all right? There is nothing but that. If we're all the creator, how could we be anything but? So to see a group of us as someone to fear, to see whatever is happening, I mean, if there's a reason to be afraid, then those folks need to take a look at themselves and why are you making people afraid? But if there isn't, then why are we doing this? See? Makes no sense. So that's the whole part about the judgment card. or the eon or rebirth, because I hate this. Plus I just can't stand. I want to like edit it, you know. Anyhow, I know you can spell judgment that way. That's the old way. It's acceptable, I guess. It isn't acceptable to me, but then I use an Oxford comma, so there you go. Yeah. I don't know. I think that if we've learned anything, it's that hate doesn't work. Disunity doesn't work. Being unable to think about someone else's needs and someone else's wounds and hurts and all of that, to not be able to respond with compassion and to try to find a solution that prevents such things from happening in the future, to not even be able to do that. That must be such a lonely place to live, to only see us versus them, to live in fear and have to say, oh my goodness, you know, that person of color is someone I need to be afraid of. That I need to be afraid of women and children trying to escape sexual violence and gang violence and trafficking and all of that at our southern border. I have to be afraid of those people. Really? No, I don't. No, I don't. You know, my area here, uh, over time, more Latino families have moved in. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're the only people I don't fear here. If you want to know the truth, they're wonderful. They're nice people. They work hard. They're raising their kids. Their kids don't cause trouble in the neighborhood like some of the other kids in the neighborhood do. They're very family oriented, very helpful. Uh, they're good neighbors, you know, and it's easy. It's easy to be friends with them. And so this fear of the other, it makes no sense. It never has made sense to me. You know, I've always been around, I guess I've always just been blessed to be in a multicultural setting in my life. I mean, there have been times when maybe not as much, but especially when we moved here. But as far as African Americans, there just weren't that many over African American folks over here in Central Oregon. Now there's quite a few African American. You see African American people all the time. Way more diverse here now than it used to be. Lots of migrant farm workers here, so you would see a lot of Hispanic people here. Um, why would you fear that? Why would you not be welcoming to that type of diversity? You know, there's nothing better than cultural diversity in this world. There's nothing better. You learn so much about people. It contributes to the whole unity consciousness of everything. Why would you ever be afraid of this? So maybe the Four of Swords is just telling us, you know, if you're somebody that's maybe struggled with that, where, you know, maybe deep down, you know, that that's not a workable solution to be the us versus them kind of, you know, person. Maybe you know that. Just understand there's no basis in reality for it. So if you're feeling pulled in the direction of love, go. Please. We want you there. We want you to give this up and to come back to the family, come back to love, because it's here. We're all here waiting, ready to extend that love and unity with you. So that's a pretty amazing reading, isn't it? For the time of Ostara, the time of birth, of new beginnings. Very cool. Anyhow, I think I'll leave it there. I still have to finish that lunar transit that was supposed to go up yesterday. I'm still working on it. I don't know. I got carried away last night. And I just didn't. I didn't. I was doing other things. So anyhow, I'm sorry about that. So that'll go up today. I did write something though yesterday, and that's probably what you know got me, you know, off track. I'll do this quick. So you know who Devin Nunes is? He's a congressman from California. His family, who I think is from Ohio, maybe? I'm not sure. Somewhere over there, though. They're in the dairy business. So The congressman thinks that he's going to sue Twitter and I guess Liz Mayer, and who's a Republican operative of some kind. She's conservative. I don't know. I don't know what she does. She responded to an article and went, "Whoa!" And anyway, he's suing her and Twitter and the parody account Devin's mom and Devin Nunes's mom, and also Devin Nunes's cow. It's called Devin Cow, at Devin Cow, DEVINCOW. All right, he's suing because his feelings are hurt. He feels that this is a violation of terms of service. He feels it's abusive because people have been relentless. Well, I wrote a blog post about it, so if you want to check that out, I said it's called Shameful Discourse or Shameful Lawsuit. Apparently, he's unaware, even though he's a lawmaker, he's unaware of the Constitution. Whereas terms of service like that's going to apply to me, it's not going to apply to him. He's a public figure. Unfortunately, whether you agree, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, you can do that. And I think, and I'm surprised that his lawyer would even file the suit. I don't know. So it's probably not going to go anywhere. I can't believe that it will because it's actually constitutionally protected speech to do this. So when at Devin Cow was at 179,000 followers, not quite as many as Devin Nunes himself, I became a follower. So I apologize. I should have done it sooner, but I didn't. And I looked, I guess, yesterday at some point, she had surpassed Devin Nunes and in a follower count. So the whole thing, anyway, follow the cow. It's hilarious. I'm sorry that he's upset. I can imagine, he's just been vilified throughout. But he carries Donald's water, basically, is what it looks like. And so I don't know what you expect. And besides, it's Twitter. Look, we may not, this was brought out, okay? We may not, in fact, I think it was Chris Hayes when he was on Stephen's show, Stephen Colbert, great interview. I mean, if you can see, I'm sure they have it on YouTube. Watch the interview. Chris Hayes is hilarious. I mean, I watch him on MSNBC. The guy's hilarious. He's smart. Oh my God, the guy is so smart. But I'm going to tell you right now, he was great on that show. But I think he was the one that brought it up. This is what we do here in this country, okay? And he's right. We may not do like Parliament does in England, because that's just raucous. I mean, isn't it? That's amazing to watch. If you've ever seen that, if you're from the UK, that is intense. That is the most amazing thing. They're and then they go out and they trash one another, and the vulgarity is amazing. It is just, I mean, it's discourse, and it's body and it's vulgar and it's insane, and I love it. Anyway, that's what Twitter is. I mean, when he said that, I finally got it. It's like, wow, that's exactly what it is. That's what we do on Twitter. It's what we do. It's the only place we can do this. There's decorum in Congress to a certain extent. It doesn't happen that way like it does in England, right? So it happens on Twitter, and our Constitution protects that. So if you don't want to see it, then don't be on Twitter. You don't want to experience it, don't be on Twitter. The other day, he posted something about someone who was in a restaurant back home, and the waitress said, "Do you want straws, or do I need to worry about the straw police?" Funyo. Anyhow, check out at Devin Cow on Twitter. Give her a follow. It's fun. Anyhow. Well, today is Thursday, so I will not see you again until Monday. So have a wonderful weekend. Get out in the garden if you can. Uh, I'm going to do that because once I start pulling a weed, I can't stop. So, anyhow, thanks so much for coming by. Again, click subscribe. I'd love you to do that if you haven't already. Check out the blog, I'm Stepping Aside, and check out the blog Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. I wish I could have just gotten steppingaside.com, but I couldn't get it. They didn't have it. It was already taken. So I had to settle for I'm Stepping Aside. So it gets very wordy when I try to tell people about it. Anyhow, check out the new book on Amazon, Witch Notes, if you need a little book of correspondences. It just basically reflects the stuff that I do. It also has some herb stuff in it. And so that's available right now on Amazon. So both in paperback and on Kindle. Two different covers though. So check that out. The paperback is a daytime cover and the Kindle one is a nighttime cover. So that's how you'll know. The same book though. But anyhow, thanks so much for coming by and have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.